This is a true story detailing something that happened to my wife and I 3 years ago. So my wife and I lived in a renovated pool house on my uncle's property, up in a secluded posh neighborhood in the mountains of SoCal. The community was quiet, given the economic status of the residents, and the fact that it was several miles up the mountain, far away from the urban neighborhoods. The community was also gated, keeping it even more secluded. That being the case, the only real traffic was people who lived in the community coming up to their mansions. There are two ways up the mountain, one approach from the south, and one from the west. Either way, you must drive several miles up narrow, windy, one-lane roads that both lead up to these razor-back ridges, in order to reach the community gates. For those who don't know, a razor-back ridge is a narrow ridge with steep 100-foot or more drops to the bottom. Sorry for the long details, but I promise this is all important. So one night wife and I are hanging out with family who live down the mountain in the San Bernardino Valley. We are there till about midnight, then decide it's time to get home. We start driving, and as time goes on, the houses and street lamps get more sparse, and the darkness encroaches as we hit the base of the mountains. As we start to drive up the mountain, the street lights are absent, and the lights of houses are gone, nothing but darkness and our two headlights. About halfway up, a fog starts to develop, nothing too uncommon for the area, just a little dangerous given the windy roads and how late at night it is. People have literally driven off the windy roads and died in the valleys below, even when there wasn't fog out, so I slow down and stay extra attentive to the road. The steep part of the ascent was over, and we reached the razor-back ridge, just a few more miles till we get home. When we reach the top of the ridge, the road levels out, and the fog grew thicker, limiting my visibility to 100 feet or so. Suddenly I make out a large shape in the fog and catch the reflection of my headlights bouncing off a mirror surface. I slowed down and came to see a new silver Mazda crossover in the road. The car was not merely parked in the shoulder or even in the traffic lane, it was literally in the middle of the road. The back half of the car was in the lane opposite us, and the front half was in our lane, as if someone had come from the opposite direction and veered onto our side and just stopped there. This is particularly odd because that either means someone came from our community several miles further down the way, or had driven all the way from the other approach up the mountain bypassing our community, which is the only thing really up there. In either case, it made no sense for someone to be coming out this way at this time of night, and to have stopped their expensive car at this point in the road. Furthermore, the car was empty. Lights were off, doors were all shut, the car was not running, and nobody was nearby. There were no flashlights shining, nobody calling for a lost dog, no flat tire, No houses or trails nearby. Just the road, the fog, the silence, the cliffs, the empty car, and my headlights as I slowed down and absorbed the scene. The only thing I could think was, this is a trap, and every horror movie and survival video game I played told me that bandits or creepy creatures were gonna pop out soon. That being the case, I retrieved my handgun and stopped the car but didn't put it in park. My wife was also taken back and muttered, "What the heck is this?" I said I wasn't sure and that I was gonna call out to see if they needed help. Despite the creepiness, part of me still thought there was a rational explanation, and that someone needed help. I cracked my window a bit and listened. No voices, no engine running, no wind, just the barely audible soft hum of my engine, which goes into eco mode when stopped. "Hello, is anyone there?" "Nothing." "Do you need any help?" "Nothing." I started to clench my pistol's grip tighter, and moved my finger slightly closer from the slide to the trigger, anticipating an attack. Still, nothing. After having been there about a minute in total, I said the dumbest thing in my life, I actually thought, and said, "You think I should get out and investigate?" My wife looked at me like the dumbass I was and said, "This is creepy, let's go." I still feel dumb for saying that, and as it left my lips I realized I was so